Coming up Tuesday on NBA TV. Yes, the two to my left are involved, but really it's 3D's night, just asking. Timberwolves and Thunder, Knicks and Warriors, of course, because the Knicks, right?
It's Tuesday night.
Players only, baby.
Players only, baby. Come on now.
Trader pregame.
Come on now. You got to say it right. You got to say it like you mean it.
Say it. Mean it.
Players
Give it to
only,
me.
baby.
Players only.
I like that.
We're going to
say it with some feeling. What night is it?
How about issues only, baby? Because that's kind of been like the backdrop for the T-Wolves. Here's Ryan Saunders on now moving forward with Minnesota.
Definitely didn't expect to be standing here. You know, I'll first off say how much I respect Coach Tibbs and Coach Andy Greer as well. You know, it's tough when you spend so much time with people, you know, on the road or just in general, and then you see you're not going to see those people as much anymore. That's a tough thing. So I'm thankful for the opportunity, though, and moving forward, I'm looking forward to seeing you know, progress on the court and helping grow this team.
All right, from Ryan Saunders to Area 21 and our boy KG, who had a lot to say on Tibbs, obviously, who he knows. He said, good coach, going to land on his feet wherever he's at. He'll get another opportunity. By the way, congrats, and obviously not the way that he expected to Ryan Saunders, not only in the coaching job, but and I know what this feels like. That's why I went with this, being the only coach who will get carded when he goes out with the team. The Timberwolves, you go through all that they went through, everything with Jimmy Butler. Now you lose the coach. How worried are you for the growth of the young talent that through all of this, like Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins and others, Zeke, are trying to take the next steps in their career?
I'm not worried about the players as much as I am about the organization.
Okay.
Because they really did take a step back. You know, I thought when Sam Mitchell was there, I thought he was doing a great job with those young players. You had Levine, you had Wiggins, you had Katz. I mean, they were coming along, and they were doing all right. And then you decided to break that trio up. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a good young trio, and I thought Tibbs made a bet on Butler, on Chicago, and he went and got him. And when you made that bet, I thought he and Tibbs, I thought Butler and Tibbs would be closer together. They would be, you know, joined at the hip, and they would be able to take it. I think the disconnect came when Butler and Tibbs, somehow they got sideways. And when they got sideways, not only did it fracture their relationship, but I think it also fractured the franchise. So now the franchise is left scrambling because that relationship and that gamble on Butler didn't work out.
I'm going to ask you this, Candace, as a player, because from outside looking in, I'm sure I speak for a lot of people. And I just think from a common sense standpoint of, we always hear about millennials now, and I think about coaches that I've talked to on the baseball side and how they need to treat it differently today. When you've got a roster with all the youth that they had, can it work with a coach like Tom Thibodeau? I mean, you paid for Bobby. I mean, we've seen coaches have a lot of success who are tough. But in today's day and age, can you be that way with young players at a professional level?
It's a balance. But with this young talent, and especially up until this point, they've been doing this a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And now the coach is gone, Jimmy Butler's gone. Mm-hmm. So now it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. You know, Tibbs is the way he is. We know him as a coach, obviously. We've heard things down in Chicago with Boylan and his attempt to kind of bring that out of players. But until you want that fire, that desire to be a top player come out of you, it's not going to happen. And right now, I mean, if you're not looking at anybody else in the mirror, where this franchise goes is going to be where Kat and Andrew Wiggins takes it.
We're going to see Golden State in this players-only doubleheader. And
but
yes, go ahead.
Let me go back to that because I do think from a coaching standpoint, the coaches do have to find a way to bring that greatness and inspire you to reach down deeper than you thought you could yourself. You know, we watched it with Phil Jackson with Michael Jordan, okay? We watched Pat Summitt do it to you. You watched Coach Knight do it to me. When I got to the NBA, Chuck Daly, had his way of doing. So the great players in this league, whether it be Pat Riley, tweaking Magic Johnson or Kareem a little bit, or, Dwayne Wade or, Shaq, whoever, the great coaches, they have to find a way not only to just rest on your talent, but they got to find a way to inspire you to give more. And I don't feel like Cat or Wiggins have had that fire to get inspired to do more.
Yeah, and I'll recite something near close to here. I've used this before, but Leo Mazzoni, longtime pitching coach for the Braves, told me years ago, I always use this, and I know Griff loves this if he's watching, is coaching sometimes is about knowing where to blow smoke and where to light fire. And I feel like that's some of what I don't know that they've always gotten right. I think that's from the outside what I don't know if Jimmy got right. Those guys seem to, you don't want to use the word coddle, but you need to sometimes be able to push a guy with positivity too, right? Yeah,
but it's a fine line, and that's why the coaches that we just talked about, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Right, sure.
Because they knew how to get it out of you, but yet make you realize that it was the best for you, right? But I went for a year, and I didn't like Chuck Daly. I didn't like Coach Knight.
Yeah.
I didn't like my high school coach. But now that I'm out of it, I'm glad I had those two coaching me. And I'm sure you felt that way about Coach Summit sometimes.
Definitely. But to add to that, it takes a special player to be able to look yourself in the mirror and understand that you have faults and you have things that you have to do better. And sometimes what you think is right is completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have done that. I don't know. But right now we're going to find out whether they do it or not, because everything around them that has been the quote-unquote problem, those are the only two that are left.
Accountability, right? I mean, you can't win without having it yourself in the mirror, in addition to kind of everybody else. Be interesting to see. I mentioned don't sleep on that Warriors game, not because the Knicks can't beat them, but home losses. We've seen some interesting situations. Go look in that closet. The boogeyman perhaps could be out of it. We got more coming up on Game Time. Did we say some issues? The Sixers, too. We'll get into the process.
Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Utah Jazz. That game's going to be on NBA League Pass just minutes from now. The Jazz have won 2 in a row, both on the road, 3 of their last 4 overall. Meanwhile, the Bucks are coming off a loss. They haven't lost consecutive games this season, a perfect 10-0 following a loss. Let's hear Coach Quinn Snyder with Craig Bolerjack prior to the game.
This is game number 41 tonight. What's your thought?
Well, it's hard to believe. We were walking on the just coming to practice and walking on the street today, and you still see some Christmas decorations, and Christmas seems like it was 2 months ago. So it's happened fast, and we're growing. I think we're a better team now than when we started the year, and that's, to me, I know, you'd love for the record to. I think you always want the record to be better. Right. But I think that, as we continue to play, and tonight and the next game and beyond, if we can continue to improve, that'll serve us well.
Speaking of getting better, listen, let me take you back to Detroit, because you were down 18, but a dynamic second half, offensively and defensively. You guys are very active, and Donovan seemed to be the guy that led the charge. Yeah,
really, and you mentioned Donovan in the second half, and he certainly did. I think in the second quarter, really, when Dante and Thabo were in the game, the way those two guys played, and it was tough to see both of them, take an injury, because those two guys, you could really feel. Thabo played the rest of the second quarter. Dante had like 5 assists in 6 minutes, and hard to lose them in that game. And would have also been really easy with those two guys playing well for the rest of the team to kind of let up, and that didn't happen. And Donovan, as much or more than anyone, really midway through the third quarter, he came back in and he really dug in defensively, and I think the game just started kind of unfolding for him, and he was instinctive, and he was really good.
Yeah, he really was. Coach, finally, we're in Milwaukee, which is the home of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and when you speak of him, I mean, just one word pops up. It's just unique.
Yeah.
Maybe you have more.
Terrific, yeah. There's a lot of superlatives that you can use to describe him, and Bud's done an unbelievable job, helping him bring all those talents out kind of exponentially. But some of the statistics that you see that are unique, nobody scored more in the paint since Shaq. So you look at a guy and, you know, he's basically a modern day Shaq. He's not doing it with post-ups all the time. He's doing it more off, you know, dribble penetration and transition. But he's a really unique player, and that makes it's hard because he's so good, but it's also hard because he's so different.
Coach Snyder also mentioned Dante Exum's ankle injury. He's reportedly going to be out for the next 2 weeks. So before I ask you about their matchup with the Milwaukee Bucks, I want to ask why the slow start for the Utah Jazz, a young team that we were expecting to see take a big jump at the start of this season.
I think a couple of things that jump out at me. When you look at their record right now, they've played 16 home games. They've played 24 away games, and here they are in Milwaukee again tonight. And the fact that they have a 20-20 record, just a game and a half out of the playoffs in the Western Conference, I think says a whole lot. The same thing is Donovan Mitchell didn't start out the season the same way that he finished up last season. But so did a couple other guys in the league that we've talked about tonight. Didn't start out great, like James Harden, but he's on fire right now. So if Donovan Mitchell gets back to the form that we saw last year, where he was just simply sensational, and then a couple of these nagging little injuries where guys miss 3, 4, 5 games, you couple that with a brutal schedule, this team's in a great spot to make a run in the second half of the season.
Let me ask you, Kevin, because you and I talk a lot about these young players who the team tends to, well, the league tends to figure out in their sophomore season. Do you think that that's the case here with Donovan?
No question. When you take the league by storm like Mitchell did, especially the second half of last year, everybody now, you're the #1 guy in the scouting report. So the coach stands in front of the group in the morning before the game and says, this is how we're stopping Donovan Mitchell. I'm putting my best defenders on him. I'm forcing him left. He likes to pull up. Whatever your tendencies are, they say we're taking your favorite tendency away, making you play your weaknesses, not your strength. And as a young player in this league, it's like a chess match. You start off with the same opening in your chess match 5, 6 times in a row. Finally, the guy says, you're not doing that. You're not beating me with that. You have to change up. I've told this story before. I remember the first time I played in a playoff series against really talented players that were really smart, were Kyle Jones and Bobby Jones, and they played for Philadelphia 76ers. So I had the move where I'd fake left, turn around, fade away, jump shot. Hell, Bobby Jones jumped before I did. He blocked it. I mean, I hadn't had anybody block that shot, so I don't know when. And I was like, dang, like I got to come up with plan B here. They made you play to plan B. They took away your favorite move, and that made me a better player. And I said that Donovan Mitchell earlier this year was going to look at film. Quinn's a really good coach, Snyder. He's going to figure out what the defenders are doing to him, and he's good enough that he'll go to plan B and C and get counters. So I think it's a tough schedule, like Mike said. And then I think it's just, you know, Donovan, the league caught up to him. Now he's figuring out what they're doing, and he's making the next jump. So it's just, you're always doing this as a young player, and you're trying to get here. You do this all the way up, and he's just on his just stages of growing up that ladder.
And they're taking on a Milwaukee Bucks team that's sitting